this computer. All right, welcome. Again, I'm so excited to share this information with you. The power of essential oils has been really transformational in my life, and to be able to share that is always an honor. I just want to cue all of you to the chat box. So if you have any questions throughout this around 1 hour class, please put them in the chat box. We'll have some time at the end for a little conversation to, if anything's not clear for you, I'm happy to answer some questions as we go along, but you'll have the majority of the time and the space at the end to really be able to ask your questions. So I'm going to share my screen, and if all of you can just let me know that you can see it here in a second, I'd really appreciate that. And if you can just give me a little heads up in the chat box that you can see that. Mute all the participants. Yes. Beautiful. You can see it. All right, we're rocking, we're rolling. My name is Sarah Small. I'm so excited again to share this with you, and we're gonna dive right in. So this class is on essential oils and emotional healing. Here's a little bit about me. So these are some of the things that I'm most obsessed with in my life. I love my senior dogs. I have 2 of them. Bella is a puggle. She's 10 and a half. And we just adopted Bo at 13 years old. He is a black lab. And they have a soft spot in my heart. If anyone else has senior dogs, please drop it in the chat box. That lights up my life. Or any dog. I'm just a big animal lover. I also am obsessed with emotional healing. This is the basis of my entire business, Autoimmune Tribe. And the reason that I'm so passionate about emotional healing is because of the effects it's had on my personal life, which I'll explain a little bit about, especially as I talk about my anxiety story today. I'm also obsessed with quantum physics. I'm a certified bioenergetic practitioner, and I love anything that is really beyond what the eye can see. And it fascinates me. It really captures my attention, and I think it's just so amazing to do the research beyond, again, what we can see with our human eyeballs that are so limiting. Soul awakening, bring it on. Funny spiritual memes, send them to me, please. All of those funny spiritual memes on Instagram. I love seeing all of you in my DMs. It's so much fun for me. And some chocolate and some avocados, which are both high histamine, but amazing foods that are my favorite. So that's just a little bit about me so we can get to know each other. I'd love to hear in the chat box where all of you are listening from today, and any sort of weird, funny, random thing that you want to share about yourself to the community. I'd love to hear that as well. I'd also love, as I share my essential oil story with you, to hear if you are currently using essential oils or not. Are you currently using oils? Love to get the little gauge on where everyone is. Some of you are already using oils, and I know it because you're on my essential oils team. Other of you I've never met, and I'm so happy you're here. Use them every day. Perfect. So once upon a time, a girl bought an oils kit. You guys, about 3 years ago, I was living in Detroit, Michigan, in my best friend's attic 3rd floor. And I was working a job that, I thought it was going to be where I was for the rest of my life. And turns out it was not. It was not. And I had very little money, but I was also in a lot of pain with chronic illness, with autoimmune disease, and my own experience with fibromyalgia, celiac disease, vitiligo, melasma, anxiety, amongst many other root causes like parasites, heavy metal overload, C. diff, H. pylori. The list goes on. If you guys are spoonies, you're probably understanding my language. If not, don't worry. So I got a message from a woman named Jess. And this was the first month I started my Instagram account that has grown to almost 27,000 as of today. And she messaged me and she was like, hey, this is what oils are. Do you want some? Can I help you? I don't remember exactly what she said, but I remember going, yeah, I think I do. I think I do want some of those. And I decided to order them. And I got this kit, which is pictured on the screen in front of you. It was the doTERRA Family Essentials Kit. And these are 5 ml or milliliter bottles. And then there was the beadlets, the On Guard and peppermint beadlets. And I got these oils, and I thought it was just like getting treasure in the mail. It was amazing. And it took me a long time to figure out how to use them. Anyone else? I can see your faces, so raise your hand if it also took you a while to figure out, like, how do I actually use these? I see some hands. How do I use these oils, these little bottles of liquid? It took me a little while to figure all of that out, but I can truly say that buying those, however many oils are pictured on the screen, 10 oils and 2 beadlet containers, has completely changed my physical and emotional well-being for the better. I love your comments. So I bought these oils and I started using them, and I started using them in a physical level, because that's kind of what I knew. I was like, okay, I can use these to help, like, make my house smell good. Anyone on the same page with me? Maybe you use the oils to make your house smell good. And then I was like, okay, I can use them to make my house smell good. I can use them to clean surfaces in my home. I can do cool things like take my nail polish off with them, and I can use them to help improve my skin tone and texture and glow, and I can use them for digestion on my belly, and I can use them to improve immunity and support my immune system, for example. So I thought all that was like really, really amazing, and I was already like, okay, I love these oils. But here's what took me to a completely different belief and trust in the oils. Experiencing the emotional therapeutic event of, what am I trying to say? Benefits, not events, benefits. As I experienced the emotional therapeutic benefits of these oils, it was like everything just got bigger in a beautiful way. And all of the things that were buried and stuck and heavy within me, all of a sudden were able to release with ease. And I think we all want that, right? Like, we want to be able to release, but we don't want it to be like we're trapped in a dungeon or we're being like pricked or any sort of discomfort, right? Like, as a society, we usually avoid that. And so I can't say this is completely discomfort-free, but it was so empowering to know that I could use something that is from the earth to be able to support me in easing the release of so many thoughts, feelings, emotions, behaviors, patterns that were holding me back in my healing. Does anyone relate to that? How do you guys feel about this? Like, what are the major emotional kind of inflammations that you have in your life? This is an interactive experience. So are there emotional inflammation, just tried to put those words together, that's a new word now, emotional inflammation that you are experiencing in your life? Is it stress? Is it one of the things on the list we're talking about today, like self-sabotage, or a wounded inner child, or anxiety, or maybe you have a specific limiting belief that you know is holding you back? And maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have awareness of that yet, and that's okay too. We're going to bring some awareness to it today. But all of these things that were feeling so heavy within me were really holding me back from healing. These were the things that when I was at my healing plateau with chronic illness, that I really, really craved. I just didn't know I craved them yet. So I needed them to break through that plateau, but I wasn't sure what they were yet. And once I discovered them and brought them into this process of healing, the physical, the nutritional, the supplements I was taking, all the emotion stuff came in, that was when I really cracked through that healing plateau and took myself and my healing to another level. So this is what we're going to discover and discuss and dive into today. You're going to experience some of this through some tapping as well. We're going to talk about anxious feelings, inner child work, releasing limiting beliefs, and releasing self-sabotage. So are we ready? Like, put I am effing ready into the comments if this is what you need in your life. I hope so. If this is what you need in your life, you are in the right place, my friend. Okay, next slide. Let's move on. So before I give you oil protocols, I think it's, yes, you guys are so ready. Before we dive into the protocols that I'll be giving you today, which, by the way, you are going to get plenty of homework and protocols to be able to go home and implement in your life, I want to talk about the power of emotional healing. So I talked about, yes, like Amazing. Sarah had cool emotional experiences that helped her break through her healing plateau. But here's the science behind it as well, because I really know some of you are going to listen to personal story and experience, and that's going to be like what anchors you in to really taking action on this. But others of you are just intuitively here and you're already bought in. Others of you need to hear this part, so I just want to make sure that I do cover it today. So as you can read on the slide, only 5% of cancer and cardiac disease attribute their disease to genetics, and less than 2% of other diseases like autoimmune are related to a single faulty gene. And what this tells us is that we're not a victim of our genes, and that we actually have a lot more control over our life and our health than we originally thought. So what is our health determined by? Well, a lot of environmental factors. So yes, nutrition and the supplements that we take and the environment we create for our body, but also other things like hormonal changes, emotions, love, and our most frequent thoughts. So we can use this to our advantage. This is actually very, very effing empowering. So we don't have to be a victim of anything, and instead we allow ourselves to feel empowered, and we get to take action on this. So I put together a little visual of an experiment that in my brain, this is what it looked like by one of my amazing mentors. And I idolize this man's research. Dr. Bruce Lipton, if you don't know him, I highly recommend buying his book and following along in all the information and research that he highlights. So this is one of the studies that he speaks about. We're just going to use 3 Petri dishes as an example. So those are Petri dishes, if you can just imagine that in your mind. And what he did was in each Petri dish was the same cell to start, okay? So we put a cell into each of them, so you can see they all look the same, but the environment was different. So we've got environment 1, environment 2, and environment 3. Starting with the same cell to start, but then the medium, aka the environment around each of them, is different. And so what he found in his study was that then each of them turned out to be a different type of cell. So for example, if you put that plain Jane cell into environment 1, it might have turned into a heart cell. If you put it into environment 2, it might have turned out to be a liver cell. And environment 3, maybe it turned out to be a kidney cell. So we know that based on the environment that surrounds that cell is going to affect the behavior and expression of it. So that, again, is very empowering, because what if oils could help us change the culture medium, or aka the environment? What if oils could help us change that kind of, in the previous slide, that it's like the empty space around the cell, the environment? What if oils could help change that? Therefore, it also changes the expression of our cells, and we get to change that on a cellular basis of our emotions and the neuropeptides in our brain and neurotransmitters. So it's so amazing. So the answer is they can. Oils can. They can help us change that culture medium or the environment of our body, again, on many levels. And some of those do affect us on a physical level, like the hormone balance, for example, but other usages of the oils also impact us on an emotional level, which we just saw before, also affects the environment or the culture medium in this experiment of our bodies and who you are today. So pretty freaking cool. So your thoughts and emotions can either create a sick culture medium or a healthy one. So the thoughts we have today are our most common thoughts that we have every single day, can be negative ones, like I'm not good enough, and I'm not beautiful enough, and I'm not smart enough, and we can go into that spiral of self-criticism or just believing bad things about the world. Or we can create a healthy culture medium, and in that case, we are surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us, and we are filling ourselves with our deepest passions and desires and our soul's purpose, and we're taking care of ourselves, and we're laughing every single day. So this is the difference between surrounding yourself in a unhealthy or sick culture medium versus a healthy one. Oop, skipped ahead a little too fast. So this next slide, we also know that oils affect the physiological environment of the body. So that's what I was talking about before, in that oils can, for example, help support the natural detoxification process in your body. Oils can, through their antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal properties, also affect our physiological environment inside the body. Oils can affect our hormones and, again, the neurotransmitters in our body. So we know that they affect us on a physical level, and they support our mood, and so we know they're also affecting us on an emotional level. So this image is going to be all of you after you go through these protocols today. So instead of those little nasty bugs that were in the Petri dish before, we're putting a drop of oil into our culture medium so that you become a freaking mermaid instead of that angry cell that was in there before with environment 1, 2, and 3. We're creating our own environment that supports your health, your well-being, your biggest, deepest, bags, your big, hairy, audacious goals for this life, because you are so worthy and so deserving of those. So let's create the environment for these things to actually manifest in your life and stop holding ourselves back. So the first protocol I'm going to be talking and walking you through today, by the way, if you have like all of your oils in a box next to you, you're free to use them as we go through. But this is also something you can just take notes on, and you can utilize them at your own pace in just a really safe and sacred environment that you create for yourself. So the first one we'll be talking about, again, is anxious feelings. And this is a picture of me on the couch with my dog wrapped up underneath me. This was probably around 2 years ago. And I just wanted to tell and share a little bit of my story of anxiety, because I want anyone who's here specifically because of anxiety to know that they're not alone. My anxiety, and I try not to say my anxiety, I usually try to say this struggle with anxiety or those anxious feelings that I experience, instead of making it part of me. It's not part of me. It's something I experienced, and something many of you potentially experience as well. But it got to a point where I was experiencing this anxiety, and I was having multiple panic attacks every single day. And I would wake up in the middle of the night with panic attacks, 2, 3, 4 a.m., and nothing would calm me down. I felt very unsafe in my body. My heart would beat, and my hands would lose blood flow to them, and I would feel like I couldn't swallow. The whole world would feel like a haze, and I wouldn't even be able to talk and speak. It was almost like I was drunk, but I wasn't. And that brain fog was so heavy, it felt like it was never going to be lifted. And I really felt like I was going to die. Like in those moments of panic attack, I thought I was actually going to die. And I did take myself to the hospital several times because I was so afraid of dying. And when I would wake up 2, 3, 4 a.m., the only thing that would ever help is going into a salt bath with my essential oils. And until I found this protocol, and have been using this protocol since, but my experience with anxiety has been that we have to really peel back the layers of the onion. We have to really peel back the fear of dying, the fear of whatever the deeper fear is beyond the anxiety, because anxiety is just a word. And these anxious feelings are just a sensation. There's always a deeper layer underneath them. And I'm feeling, so if you guys don't know me and you're brand new to Sarah Small, you'll learn quickly. I channel and I intuit a lot of the things I share. And I'm intuiting right now that there's a lot of women on the call right now that also experience anxiety. So actually, sometimes it helps to just get that off your chest. So if you're someone who experiences anxiety, let's just put that in the chat box with, I'm saying I'm number one. And I still experience anxiety from time to time, but it is so like light years better today because of the emotional work that I put in and getting to the root cause of it. So yeah, see, you guys are so not alone. We are all in this. and we can all get out of this as well. So I just wanted to share that personal story. Here's your anxious feelings protocol. So feel free to screenshot this, but you can also just write it down. Again, this is something that I've created, and I just want to give you guys the understanding of why each of these oils are part of this protocol. So the first is oregano on the bottoms of your feet. And what oregano, the reason this is part of this is, and again, you can dilute any of the oils I'll be talking about tonight with a fractionated coconut oil, for example, or you can use them neat unless they're a skin sensitive oil. So the dilution that you apply them, I have found, is going to work differently with each person individually and uniquely for your biochemistry, your cellular and genetic makeup. But in general, this is what we're going to follow. I, for the most part, do apply these neat, but it would be perfectly acceptable to make a roller ball with some fractionated coconut oil and then apply. So oregano. Oregano helps with any sort of like parasites. So I mean that more in like parasites of your life, like energetic vampires or invaders that have crossed your line of your boundary and are affecting you on an energetic level. And also the energetic or physical roots of anxiety. Sometimes the roots of our anxiety are energetic or emotional, and sometimes they are physical. And why I love oregano as part of this protocol on the bottoms of your feet is it's like, I imagine like pulling out from the bottoms of your feet any sort of root cause of this anxiety. So you're shedding it, you're releasing it. And oregano is amazing on its own because it has many properties like antiviral, antibacterial, antimicrobial that are going to support your body's health in the first place, beyond the anxiety too. The other or next step is cypress. And cypress is the oil of motion and flow. So I apply this to the solar plexus. And those of you who are not familiar with chakras, this is a spot right above your belly button, below your diaphragm. Okay, so kind of when the ribs come together and make that little V shape, it's kind of like inside that tent of the ribs. And so cypress being the oil of motion and flow, it helps move those anxious feelings through and out. So it's like, I imagine it like a sweeper. It's like the Roomba for your anxiety. Okay, so you are Roombaing the hell out of that anxiety. So it is moving down and then it can release through the feet and that oregano. So you're helping it move and have that motion and that flow. And then I apply, and I do it in this order for these reasons too. So deep blue is specifically a doTERRA essential oil blend. And it's the oil of surrendering pain. It is soothing. And if you've had an anxiety or panic attack, you know it is painful, whether it's physically painful or emotionally painful, or the fear is painful, the intensity of the fear you're experiencing is painful. And so what this does is especially I love it on the shoulders because it gives us our body this signal that we can let go of the fear around the anxiety. And we can soothe and we can surrender and we can just drop into our body to let this out and let this go. The next step is bergamot. And bergamot's a beautiful citrus oil. I put this on my heart and my forearms. Okay, and I don't think I included this in the slide, but so far it's been 1 drop each. Okay, so 1 drop on the bottom of each of your feet, 1 drop of cypress on your solar plexus, 1 drop on each of your shoulders of the deep blue, 1 drop of bergamot. Unless you're using a roller ball that's pre-diluted, then you can just roll it on. So bergamot on the heart and the forearms. And part of the reason I chose these areas to apply the bergamot is because these are going to be the areas of our body, the heart at least, being this indication of safety, that you are safe and you're protected. Now the forearms, really interesting, when most of us have panic or anxiety attacks, the blood can flow in a way that allows us to like just be in this survival mode. So sometimes we get this feeling of loss of blood flow to our hands or a rush of blood to our hands. And so what I love the bergamot on the forearms, because first of all, like, you know, we get IVs, we get blood taken from that space because the veins are close to the surface of the skin. So it's going to get into your blood flow right away and to send the signal to all of your extremities that it's safe. We don't need to curl into that fetal position. So bergamot on those positions, but why bergamot? Bergamot is the oil of self-acceptance. It's a high vibration oil, like all citrus oils. And what this is doing is circulating through the heart and the veins and the whole body, this high vibration, the self-acceptance, to replace the anxious thoughts and the anxiety that might be surfacing for you. Okay? After I apply those 4 steps, I take 3 really, really deep belly breaths in and out. The more you can feel your belly expand, the better. So it's like you're trying to give yourself that Buddha belly with no shame, with instead complete acceptance of the shape we're creating in the belly. And what this does is also signals on our parasympathetic nervous system, telling the body that it can rest and that it is safe and it doesn't have to be in survival mode anymore. So that is the anxious feelings protocol. Does anyone have any questions about that? Please just post them in the chat box. I can see some of your videos, but not all of you. So any questions, post it in the chat box. I'm going to move on, and if any questions come up, I'll come back to them. Next is your inner child. So is anyone familiar with the inner child? How often do you apply this protocol? So for the anxious feelings protocol, I apply as needed. Okay, as needed. It's kind of like my, like the replacement for Xanax. I can't give you medical advice or tell you to start or stop any drugs on this experience, but it's like, okay, I need to chill the F out right now. This is what I'm going to do. Cool. Okay. So your inner child. Who is familiar with their inner child? Have you ever gotten intimate with your inner child? To be clear, your inner child is your childlike self, as it sounds, but I like to think of it as like all previous versions of you, okay? All previous versions of you. So here I am, Sarah, at 31 years old, but my inner child is Sarah at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of that, those like little versions of me. And they each take on their own energy. I pulled this before I jumped on today from lonerwolf.com, so I just want to make sure I credit. I'm actually going to pop the link into the chat box if you're watching live. If you're listening to the recording, I'm sorry. I don't think you can see the chat afterwards. But this article has signs that your inner child might be wounded. I'm just going to read a couple of them so that any of you who are new to inner child work get an understanding of like what it looks like to have a wounded inner child. So this is an indication if you feel like deep inside of you that there's something wrong with you. If you feel like there's something wrong with you at the core, that could be a wounded inner child. If you experience anxiety whenever you're contemplating doing something new, anyone? And feel free, if you experience these, let us know. If you are a people pleaser and tend to lack a strong identity, if you feel like you're a rebel and feel more alive when you're in conflict with others, if you tend to hoard things and have trouble letting go, if you feel guilty standing up for yourself or feel inadequate as a woman, if you constantly criticize yourself for being inadequate, if you are rigid or a perfectionist, if you distrust everyone, including yourself, or again, avoid conflict at all costs, or feel like you might be addicted to something or at least have an unhealthy relationship with something because you're trying to like avoid another emotion. So you don't have to fit all of those to have a wounded inner child, just one of them. Just one of them, okay? Never heard of this list before. Yeah, it's just from a blog, so it's not like it's a science way to diagnose this or anything, but it is really powerful if you feel like you have a wounded inner child to go in and do this healing work. And when we do the healing work, that aspect of you that this can be related to the anxiety as well. So say you're experiencing anxiety and you have no idea why. You're like, I don't know why. That could actually be inner child stuff too, because at 7 years old, something happened that made you feel unsafe in this world. And now it's continued to carry and follow with you all the way up until the age you are now. So these beliefs, these things we've created, we've experienced as a little girl, that can carry into our most common thoughts and patterns and behaviors and the way we make decisions and the way we show up in the world and our beliefs about ourselves today. So it's so important to go back and talk to little girl. And this is, I forgot to acknowledge, these are pictures of me when I was a little girl. And one of my recent inner child experiences of healing that I went back into and kind of talked to little girl Sarah was, she was so afraid of making money. Like Sarah Small now was like totally on board. I was like, yeah, I want to have this abundant life and I want to be able to help so many people and I want to be able to invest in my health in a really big way, like whenever I want to. But little girl Sarah was freaking out about that. Like she was like, whoa, 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 like pump the brakes. That's scary. It's scary to have money because you have to manage it. You have to be responsible for it. You probably have to help more people or give more money away if you have more money. All these things came up, okay? I've talked to my little girl with so many new things on that list. Yeah, there's so many things that can surface through the inner child. So let's talk about how can we help heal the inner child, that little girl version of you. Here's the inner child protocol. So first, we're going to start with balance, which again is a doTERRA blend on your sacrum. So your sacrum is also the energy center of your root chakra. Your root chakra is also your base chakra or your first chakra, and this is going to be the energy center of your body that is the safety center. It is all of your basic needs. It is your grounding. And so we put balance, which is the oil of grounding, on the sacrum so that we can tell our body it's safe. And we can tell that little girl inside of us that she is safe and she is so supported and she is so loved. And it's okay to go on this journey of inner child work and inner child healing. It's going to be okay today. So first, we're just telling our whole being and every version of us that we're safe and it's safe to do this work. Next, rose or immortelle on your heart. So I was intuitively inclined to give you two options here. The price difference is $1. So they're essentially the same, but energetically different. So immortelle is a blend that has rose in it. It also has frankincense, Hawaiian sandalwood, lavender, myrrh, and helichrysum. And if you go to the doTERRA website, you'll see immortelle marketed as the anti-aging oil. However, it also has oils in it that happen to be deeply spiritual healing oils. So it's amazing for your wrinkles and your complexion, but it's also amazing for spiritual healing. And rose is the highest vibration oil of them all. So I like to apply these to my heart. Same thing with this protocol, 1 drop. I mean, if you get 2 in your hand or something, that's not going to like ruin the protocol. And rose and actually immortelle come in roller balls already. So I would just roll like 1, 2, maybe 3 circles of that onto my heart for deep spiritual healing, the purest love on this planet to help nourish the little girl inside of me, nourish that little girl. Because some part of her feels wounded or like this void or this pain or this limiting belief or this view of the world through one lens. Next, ylang ylang, and ylang ylang is the oil of the inner child. It's a floral oil, and what it does, being the oil of the inner child, it reconnects you to your inner child. It encourages play and that childlike nature and the silliness inside of you. Does anyone feel like the silliness has been sucked out of them? I have felt that way. I'm like, where did silly Sarah Small go? Like, why did I think, or at what point in my life did I decide that it was not okay to be silly anymore? That's part of your inner child too, this playfulness that wants to come out. Like, we know that laughter heals us on a physical level and an emotional level. The ylang ylang is also this heart knowing. It helps release emotional trauma of the past, and it nurtures the heart. So this is so nurturing and loving to your inner child. And it's like the big sister scooping around you saying it's okay to play and it's okay to release the emotional trauma of your past. So what you're going to do with the ylang ylang is you're going to breathe it in. You don't have to even use a drop. You could diffuse it if you want as well, but I prefer to just take it from the bottle and inhale directly. Exhale. And I'll just take as many breaths as I intuitively feel like I want to take. If it becomes overpowering, I'll just kind of cool it, and then maybe I'll come back to it another second and just see how that feels. Your body will tell you when it's had enough. And then I also, this is not required, but if you'd like, you can also put a little layer of the ylang ylang over your heart where you already placed the rose or immortelle. And I also like to kind of seal this whole ritual in with a mantra, which I will change from time to time, but the two that I use the most often are, I allow my inner child to be heard. I allow my inner child to be heard. And the other one is, I embrace my inner child. Or if I'm working on a specific age, say I'm working with Sarah at age 8, I embrace, love, and accept Sarah, the 8-year-old version of Sarah. You could get very specific here as well. Okay, I'm going to pause and ask if you have any questions. We've gone through 2 of our 4 protocols, and I'm going to take a sip of water. Not water, tea. Peppermint tea. Okay. Yes, I always feel so serious. Yep, ylang ylang, bring in the silliness. Can you repeat the second mantra? Absolutely. I embrace my inner child. And then I kind of expanded and said I would also talk to like that version of me if it was 8-year-old Sarah, for example. Okay. What is immortelle the oil of? It is the oil of, it's the oil of anti-aging, but I think there's another thing beyond. I'm looking, this is a beautiful book for you guys to get. It's the oil of spiritual insight. Duh. I was just talking about how it has like spiritual healing properties. It is the oil in this book of spiritual insight. So this is an amazing resource for all of you. It's called Emotions and Essential Oils. I'm holding it up in the video if you can see. There's no author, which I always find so interesting, but you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on oillife.com. I think it's on eoslifestyle.com, probably aromatools.com, all the main kind of retailers for oil accessories. And I think it's like $15 or something, and it'll give you the emotional meaning behind every single one of doTERRA's oils. This is the new updated version, which is the 7th edition. So make sure you buy the 7th edition. Okay, let's move on to limiting beliefs. So who's familiar with limiting beliefs, and do you know what they are? And then maybe what are some of yours? Because we're going to get there eventually. So a limiting belief is any belief that constrains you in some way. It is your lens that you see the world through. And most of our beliefs are developed by age 7, and we're pretty not locked in, but we get pretty rigid with our beliefs by age 12. That doesn't mean they aren't still pliable. We can always rewire the neural pathways in our brain and literally rewire our body to think in a different way and create a new belief. So beautiful. Here's some beliefs you guys have. I'm not safe. You have to work extra hard to make just enough money. I'm not safe. This is interesting. I'm having trouble identifying my, no problem. We're going to go through that in a second here. That everyone can trust me except me. Mm-hmm. So see how the examples these ladies have shared, in some way they're constraining them in their life, but they're also potentially the way that the lens they see life through, like that belief that we have two I'm not safes. So when you believe that you're not safe, that's going to constrain you, because you're potentially never going to take a risk or step outside of your comfort zone. And we know that life exists outside of that comfort zone, that joy experience and growth is outside of that comfort zone. And then if they're constantly believing that they're not safe, that's also going to affect their physical body and the way that it interacts with the world, but also the way it feels around the world, and then literally like our adrenal glands and the HPA axis in our body. So in some way, this belief is going to constrain you. It's also going to be the lens you see the world through. We usually have many, many. So here's a couple more examples beyond what you guys have shared. Thank you for doing that. I'm not worthy of love. I don't have enough time. Who said that before? I don't have enough time. It's too late to change, or he or her will never change. I am responsible for everyone. The world is not a safe place, similar to what you guys were saying. I have to be perfect, or only perfect people get to be beautiful, get to have money, get to travel, whatever that is. I don't deserve health. These are all limiting beliefs. So I want you to, after hearing some examples, write down a few of your limiting beliefs. I told you we were going to get there. And like Rebecca said, I have trouble identifying mine. What I want you to consider as you try to identify them are, what are some of the most common thoughts you have every single day? Or in what way are you holding yourself back? Or what creates fear in your body? What creates anxiety in your body? What creates this feeling that you're not safe? And are there any sort of thoughts or beliefs there? I have other trainings that break down in a podcast episode as well that help you identify them more specifically through a process. But today I want you to just prompt yourself with these questions of like, okay, what lens do I see the world through? If somebody gave me $1 million today, how would I react to that? What would my reaction be? And through that reaction, you'll probably see some of your beliefs around money. So what are some of your beliefs? And then I like to work with one at a time. Okay. This is credited to Desiree Mangendog, and she is amazing. It's truly amazing. I have another book recommendation for you, which is hers. And it's called I Am Fabulous. It's another spiral bound book that I believe can be found on Amazon, but definitely can be found on some of those oil retailers that I mentioned before. And she is trained in traditional Chinese medicine and is such a wealth of knowledge. And this one is a protocol that I learned from her. So I want to make sure I give her due credit. So this is a protocol to go through to release the beliefs, and then we're going to also install a new positive belief. So this is actually a two-step process, and I believe that it's important that you do both steps of this process. So you're not just like ripping out the cords of these beliefs, but you're also then planting a new seed that is supportive and loving and positive. So first, lemongrass on the back of your neck. So I like just kind of like around the base of your neck, and actually there's a way to find that. So if you just kind of round your head and you feel like which of your vertebrae kind of stick out, that's going to be the area that you apply this one. And lemongrass is used in this because it's the oil of cleansing. So we think of like cleansing and releasing the neural pathways that are currently telling us that we're responsible for everyone, or that the world's not a safe place, or that we have to work extra hard just to make enough money. We're cleansing that. We're like sweeping our mind of those beliefs that don't serve us. Next is black pepper on the top of your head. Here's a question that came in. Do you think of your belief and its release while putting these on? You don't have to think about them in the moment that you're putting them on, but we will come back to that at the end here. So first, you're just going to apply them. Just apply them. Just apply them. And beforehand, you are saying, okay, I'm applying these for like the belief, the specific belief that you're choosing to release that day. Then you apply them. Then we're going to do a little mantra at the end. So black pepper. black pepper on the top of your head, just one drop, kind of like along, if you part your hair, kind of along that part line. And this is going to help lemongrass, whereas it was cleansing, this is more releasing. So it's like, think of your broom and your dustpan. The lemongrass is sweeping the belief in the old neural pathways, and then the black pepper is like the dustpan that's collecting them, and then it's like, see ya, in the trash can, bye-bye, we don't need you anymore. So it's the release of them. Next is Siberian fir, and this is the same as previous, where it's just one drop. If it's more, I'll indicate it. Siberian fir on the top of your shoulders. This is really cool. When Desiree taught me this, she explained, and it's so visual when I think of it, this pulling out of your beliefs. So Siberian fir, top of the shoulders, and imagine it just kind of like being these like little claws that are coming down and just like release, pulling out that nothing, anything that no longer serves you. Siberian fir we'll talk about in the next section as well, around self-sabotage, but I think that it's also powerful in this protocol because it also has to do with our familial programming. And so we might have also gotten one of these beliefs from our family member, or just passed down through generations of, you know, when you're told something a million times when you're 6 years old from your mom, like you're going to take that on as a belief. So I like that for that purpose as well, on the shoulders. And it's interesting too, I think of shoulders as the left side as feminine energy and right side as masculine energy. And you're applying to both sides. So you're removing any sort of, pulling out any sort of like beliefs that you receive from your father and your mother. Lastly is melaleuca, or this is also known as tea tree oil, and you just will put it around your belly button. And you can think of this as like pulling out any sort of like leechy, lingering thoughts or energy around this belief. And melaleuca, I think we mentioned this before, is also the oil of energetic boundaries. So then you're creating a boundary around this belief too. At the end, as the question kind of indicated before, we do want to think of that belief that we're releasing. So after I put all the oils on, you're going to smell them. Like they're going to be in your personal space. You're going to get the aroma of the oils. And so as I'm kind of like just breathing them on my body, I say out loud or silently in my head, I release this belief that it's too late to change. I release this belief that the world is not a safe place. I release this belief that everyone can trust me except me. I release this belief that I have to be perfect. And you would just do one, but you can repeat it several times. And again, your body knows. Your body is such an unbelievably powerful healer in its own right, in itself. So you're going to say that until you feel like you don't need to say it anymore. You might say it for a full minute. You might say it twice. No right or wrong. And then, as I mentioned, we don't want to leave you hanging, so we also want to install the positive belief. And so in this case, we're choosing the opposite, or at least a supportive belief of what we release. So if you said you're releasing, I release this belief that I am not safe, you would install the belief that the world is a safe place and that you are always safe and supported, for example. If you release the belief that you have to be perfect, so here's a little tricky thing with language. So instead of saying, I don't have to be perfect, I would rather see you put that into terms that don't include a not or a don't. So instead, I would say the opposite of I have to be perfect is I am beautiful, worthy, and deserving of love, for example. Something that's going to make you feel that essence of perfect, without saying I don't have to be perfect, or simply I am perfect. That would work as well. Okay. So we're going to choose the positive belief that you want to install. You guys got that? Does anyone need help with figuring out the opposite of what they released or will release when they do this, and what the positive would be? Let me know. Once you have it, we are going to take Douglas fir and eucalyptus, one drop of each on the top of your head, again, kind of along that part line. And what this does is helps make new neural connections. So we talked about the neural pathways. I keep dropping that word. So think of it as kind of like the wires in your brain that are connecting, but they can change. And it's like, okay, we're not dating you anymore. We're gonna go date this other guy. So we're not gonna date this belief anymore. We're gonna wire a new belief into our brain. So Douglas fir and eucalyptus on the top of the head, around the brain, helping make new neural connections. And then patchouli and wild orange. So WO stands for wild orange. Okay, wild orange. And wild orange and patchouli on your sacrum, which again we talked about being the root chakra. And what this does is ground into your body this new pattern, this new belief. And it's telling your root chakra it's safe to believe this. Then you'll take bergamot. We talked about this as the oil of self-acceptance. And you'll inhale bergamot. And what it does in this protocol is harmonizes everything that you've just done. Do you remove the old oils first? So oils sink into your blood, into your skin, into your pores very, very quickly, like within a minute. So they're already going to be absorbed into the skin, so you don't have to wash them off or anything like that. You would just let them settle and do their magic, and you would layer this on top. Now you can give yourself a few minutes between each of them. That's fine. So you're choosing the positive belief. You're going through this process and thinking of that positive belief as you do it. And you could, this is not required, but at the end you could, just like you said, I release this belief that, you could say, I install this belief of, I install this belief that the world is a safe place. I install this belief that I do deserve health. Bergamot is the oil of self-acceptance. Where do you apply on the sacrum since it's the root chakra? So it's like your butt crack. So you're basically like gonna apply, that is your sacrum, like the little, like the base of your spine that kind of like has this little curly thing that goes into your butt crack. That's your sacrum. So it's like the, of all the vertebra of your spine, it's the final base vertebra, and it'll be like right on the top of your butt crack. Yeah, we were all doing this in a room together, and we were joking. We're like, this is the only conference workshop you'll ever be at that everyone's rubbing their butt crack at the same time. And it's totally normal, totally cool. Good thing a lot of these oils are antibacterial. Okay. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of my tea and then we're gonna move on to the final protocol. Okay, self-sabotage. With not a raise of hands because I can't see all of you, but if you put in the comments a heart or the number 1, if you feel like you self-sabotage. Do you self-sabotage? Yep. Hearts, ones, hearts, ones. Yep. I think we all have in some way, right? Whether we're aware of it or not, probably in some way we're holding ourselves back from our biggest desires, or that money you want to manifest, or the most amazing relationship, or whatever that is. Like, we're probably, not in all areas of our life, but at some point in our life, we probably have self-sabotaged to some degree. And part of the reason we self-sabotage is what we've already discussed, which is limiting beliefs, a wounded inner child that probably has beliefs around the world, or fear that manifests as anxiety. Does that make sense? All these really tie together. As a whole, like, this is just deep, deep emotional healing. And all of our emotions kind of play in and interact with each other. So what are some examples of self-sabotage? Can anyone think of any? How are you specifically self-sabotaging? So for example, if, actually I had a conversation with a woman today. Some of you know I teach yoga 4 times a week just to fill my soul. And a woman came into the office today after I was teaching, and she just became a new 200-hour certified registered yoga teacher. And she has an audition next week to then like work at this club to start actually teaching the yoga now that she's certified. And she was like, yeah, she teaches another class called Dance Jam. and it's like a thrusting, high energy, like just get it, girl. Like I take that class and it's amazing for your feminine energy. She's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, do I have the yoga like version energy of me in me? Is it there? I'm like, you totally got this. You just got to be you. Just got to be authentic. And she's like, well, maybe I'll just reschedule my audition next week. Maybe I'll just push it back. And do you see how that's self-sabotaging for her? She's like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm just going to, even though I want to teach yoga, I'm excited about yoga, I'm going to self-sabotage by canceling the opportunity to teach yoga. So her one side of her is saying, I want to teach yoga, and the other side of her is saying, I'm going to cancel the audition so I can't teach yoga. Those things don't completely line up. We can self-sabotage in many, many other ways. That's just one example. Okay. So I want you to think about, I'm glad you brought up, Nicole brought up food. So she says like not going after her dreams, not eating as healthy as she could. Those are ways of self-sabotaging. And limiting beliefs are absolutely self-sabotaging because they constrain us and restrict us in some way. Like that was the definition of them, right? They're constricting us and holding us back in some way. I'm told I'm in my own way of reaching my goals in one area of my life, abundance. Yeah, so there could be a self-sabotaging behavior within that that's holding you back from the abundance that you say you want, but then the actions, something doesn't quite line up. So when you think about your own self-sabotaging and like the intensity of that, whether you can think of it specifically or not, that doesn't matter so much here. You don't have to say, oh, I'm self-sabotaging when I blank. If you can, amazing. If you can't, it's okay. But I want you to think about the intensity of self-sabotage in your life where you feel like you're holding yourself back from your biggest dreams and desires, or the limiting beliefs, like how many limiting beliefs are piling up that are also holding you back, and what's the intensity of that on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being like, this is dominating every aspect of my life. 0 is like, I don't have no self-sabotage over here. Okay, so what is the intensity of that right now today? Put that in the comments. Beautiful. Like Cassandra said 7 to 8-ish. Perfect. 8, yeah. So in case you guys are not familiar with EFT or emotional freedom technique / tapping, we're going to do it tonight, and we're going to utilize the oils in this final protocol with the tapping as well. I don't have time to go into all the science behind tapping, but it is a mixture of Eastern and Western medicine, and really starts to bind together, meld together acupuncture using the energy meridians and modern day psychology. So yeah, your self-sabotaging, at least for the people who are answering, is pretty intense today. And what EFT does, and again, to put this in kind of like a simple box for this evening, is it signals to your amygdala what the amygdala should perceive as a threat or as stressful or fight, flight, freeze versus what it should not and what it doesn't need to trigger on and freak out about. So we're going to start to program the brain, the amygdala, to turn off this self-sabotage and turn on a better feeling thought, better feeling behavior. These are the points I'm going to show you in my video. If you can, I'm not sure if all of you can see me or not. I hope so. I'm going to actually do it and you'll see me tapping my own body, but in case for any reason you can't see that or I'm too small, here's where you tap. We're going to start with the karate chop point of the hand, and to answer any questions that might be coming in, does not matter which hand you tap with, does not matter, because our body's kind of like a butterfly, or like when you make a snowflake when you're in like kindergarten or whatever. Did they give you scissors in kindergarten? Maybe like 5th grade, you make a snowflake. It's going to be the same on both sides. So like the meridian that goes down this jaw line is going to be the same on the left as the right, which that makes it okay to tap on either side. We're going to start with karate chop point. We're going to go to the inner eye, which is like the start of your eyebrow, the outer eye, which is like the end of your eyebrow, under the eye, and you can be gentle. I usually tap with 2 fingers, but you can choose what feels good. Under the nose, right above your lip, your chin, and then your chest. And again, I like to tap, excuse me, when I'm using my right hand, it's kind of on the left side of my chest, right under your collarbone. You can also use a whole hand. I don't do this because it gets too loud while I'm tapping on video. And then under your arm, which is kind of like I'm being a monkey, and it's on the bra line strap area. And on the top of your head, that's your crown chakra right there on top. Okay, so that's your very quick lesson in tapping. How are we going to release self-sabotage? We're going to apply the oils and then we're going to tap. The first oil we're going to use is Siberian fir, which is one that's already been mentioned. And this helps to, again, clear familial programming and provide generational healing that maybe you've picked up this generational behavior. Does your mom self-sabotage? Does she tell herself how ugly she is? And does she criticize herself in the mirror? Maybe that's been programmed and passed on to you. So any of the self-sabotaging that's been picked up by observing our mom, our dad, our aunt, our teacher, our friend, we're going to let all of that go with the Siberian fir. You're going to put that on your solar plexus. And specifically the solar plexus because that is where, we didn't talk about energetic cords or attachments today, but an energetic cord is like this, like I think of it like a rope attached to my body. Like obviously it's not an actual rope, but an energetic rope from my core to someone else's core. And our family, generational healing, right, often attaches specifically to the solar plexus because think of it like the umbilical cord. So especially your mom, the umbilical cord, you were literally attached to your parents, like their DNA and the creation of you through the umbilical cord. So I apply that oil to around where the umbilical cord was on the solar plexus. Next is vetiver or frankincense. Both of these oils are really good for anchoring yourself into your body. So did I put that on the slide to apply to your sacrum? I did. So you'll put that on your sacrum. Again, 1 drop for all of these, 2 is fine. Diluted in a roller ball is also fine. Anchoring yourself in your body. Anchor, anchor, anchor. So that we can feel safe and grounded enough to do this work. Next is petitgrain on the base of your throat. And petitgrain is not a very talked about popular oil, but it's really energetically powerful, like a bulldozer for your negative self-talk. So if you don't have this oil, I do highly recommend it. Like a bulldozer. So it's such a visual thing we can think of, right? Like kind of smashing through those negative self-talk and thoughts and like, we don't need you here anymore. We get to let you go. You are not serving me. It's time for you to leave. And I call that assertive fury. Assertive fury is like you're laying down the law and the line and you're saying, I don't need you here anymore. You're not supporting me. Bye. And it's loving too, but it's also assertive. You're like, I'm not effing around. I haven't cussed on this yet, which is really impressive. I was just being mindful of any mothers who are listening, like in their kitchen, their kids are listening, or else I'd probably have dropped a lot of those. Okay, last is wild orange on your heart. Really rub that into your heart. Really rub it in. And wild orange is the oil of abundance. And the reason I love it here is because we're creating this abundance of acceptance of ourselves. If you don't have wild orange, you could replace this one with bergamot. There aren't a lot of replacements for the other ones I've talked about, or I've mentioned them, like rose or immortelle. But here I would say, yeah, maybe you could do a bergamot because it's the oil of self-acceptance. And we're pulling in with the wild orange this abundance that's supporting you on an emotional level, an energetic level, and just really accepting yourself. So we're going to tap now. And we can do this today even without applying the oils and still get benefits from it. If you have them and you've applied them, then beautiful. It's just going to amplify this. On the limiting beliefs, you said, that was wrong. So Siberian fir. Yep. So the slide said white fir, but it's actually Siberian fir. White fir, so whereas Siberian fir is going to be more this familial healing, what did I say? White fir is generational healing. Siberian fir is familial healing, which to me are very, very similar. And doTERRA no longer makes white fir. They only source Siberian fir, which is why it should have said Siberian fir. because white fur can no longer be sustainably sourced, so they only have Siberian. The energy of both of these trees is very similar, and in some extent they can be interchangeably used. Are all the citrus oils the same? They're not the same, like they have different chemical constituents, not the bad kind of chemicals, the nature kind of chemicals. So they have different chemical constituents, but they are, of all of the oils, all the other plants and roots and trees and flowers, all the citrus oils are going to be higher vibration, higher frequency. So yeah, in that case, I would probably use just wild orange or bergamot, but any high citrus oil is going to be high vibration. So again, this is going to benefit anybody today, regardless if you've applied these oils or not. And it's an opportunity for us to really feel healing right here, right now. Okay. So we're going to start with the karate chop point of your hand and taking your other hand, and you're just going to start to tap. And we're going to repeat this 3 times. You can listen today. If you'd like to say this out loud after me, you can as well. Even though I am experiencing this self-sabotage, I deeply accept and love myself. Even though I am experiencing this self-sabotage, I deeply accept and love myself. Even though I am experiencing this self-sabotage, I deeply accept and love myself. And you'll release your hands down and just take a deep breath in and out. And then we'll start to tap on those other energy meridian endpoints, starting with your inner eye. This self-sabotage. And then your outer eye that pulls me into a low vibration. Under your eye, this picking at myself. Under your nose, and holding myself back from my deepest desires. Chin, I can see it after I do it. Chest, but I'm unaware when it's happening. Under your arm, I end up ruining things for myself. Top of your head, I make it so that I can't succeed. And we just circle through the same one. So inner eye, I am so hard on myself. Outer eye, and I am afraid to fail. Under the eye, so I sabotage to protect myself. Nose, and it feels so heavy. Chin, I don't want to do it. Chest, yet I do it again and again. Under your arm, and I'm realizing it's a pattern. Top of your head, but I know patterns can be released. Inner eye, patterns can be broken. Outer eye, I can rewire my thoughts. Under your eye, and my behaviors. Nose, maybe I can rewire the sabotaging of myself. Chin, and instead raise my vibration. Chest, so I am an energetic match for success. Under your arm, I welcome the success into my life. Top of your head, I allow my sabotage to release. Inner eye, and I replace it with acceptance of myself. Outer eye, and a deep love for myself. Under the eye, I appreciate me. Nose, I appreciate all of the lessons I've learned. Chin, and I will no longer hold myself back. Chest, because I have so much to share with the world. under the arm, and I need to break free. Top of your head. I allow myself to feel whole. And then release your hands down and take another couple breaths here. In and out. And I just want you to, when you're ready, feel into this intensity of self-sabotage and put in the comments again, where is that level now of 0 to 10, or we call it MPI, the intensity of your most pressing issue. So we get to take these oils and we get to pair them with powerful emotional healing practices and techniques like this one, emotional freedom technique. And we get to utilize those to amplify the intensity of them. So I'm going to open it up to questions now. Does anyone have any other questions that were not answered throughout the course of this class around using the essential oils to activate this emotional healing within us? I will say this is the tip of the iceberg. The tip, you guys. This is as much as I could fit in, and well, I was planning 1 hour, but we went to 1 hour 15, which is totally fine. But that's as much as I can fit in today. The depth of this work is so deep, and it's so potent, and it's so powerful, and I can speak from personal experience that this has allowed me to break through limiting beliefs, put up strong energetic boundaries, help release these anxious feelings, tap into my inner child, my little girl inside of me that needed to feel safe, and so much more. This was forever ago, but when we first worked together, did you send me balance with diamonds tapping? Ooh, I don't know. I'd have to smell it. It's blue if you have it, and it's in an amber bottle. Put a drop on your hand, and it's going to be like a really light blue color. So that's one way to look if you have it. But balance is one of my favorites. Like, of everything of all time, bring me balance. What other oils do you tend to use during EFT? So it depends on the intention of the tapping experience. So today, that tapping experience was self-sabotage. So I chose oils very specifically for releasing self-sabotage, and then the EFT was kind of like the bonus to the oil protocol that you experienced. Either of those in their own right would be powerful, but I like to pair them together. Now, if I'm going to tap with a different intention, say self-acceptance, or I guess I'd be tapping on this like self-criticism or lack of acceptance of myself. If I were tapping on that pain point, I would use bergamot, for example, which we discussed today as the oil of self-acceptance. If I was tapping on stress and like releasing stress, I might use like a lavender or more of a soothing, calming oil, maybe even deep blue for surrendering pain of the stress. If I was tapping on a lack of boundaries, I would use Melaleuca, which is the oil of energetic boundaries. Now, those are just single oils. Ideally, I would like to do like a little ritual, a little process or protocol like I showed you guys today, just to really hone in and solidify the intention of the experience. But you can, again, use both of these on their own too. Whatever it was amazing. Yeah, it's like my favorite ever. Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? So here you are. You are the mermaid. You are all the mermaid. All of the mermaid. So again, do you remember in the beginning there was that Petri dish that we talked about? And you get to drop oils into that Petri dish, and you get to change the culture medium or in the environment that you are creating for your experience. So we could be a mermaid, and we don't have to be a parasite anymore. Not that we're not actually parasites, but in that Petri dish, it was like this little parasitic picture, right? So we want to tap into that, and I wanted to make this really simple and easy for all of you. So each of these, as you can see on the screen, are every oil you need for what you did today. So if you want all of the oils for releasing limiting beliefs and installing positive beliefs, you can get a kit with all of those oils. If you want all the oils for self-sabotage and the EFT we just experienced, you can get all of them in one bundle, or inner child healing, or releasing those anxious feelings. So depending on which one you maybe want to try first, if you don't already have these oils, this is a way to get started. It also includes a wholesale membership, which has no commitment and no minimums, nothing. Like there's no strings attached to doTERRA. So if you want to continue to order more, so say you purchase the self-releasing self-sabotage kit and you decide you want balance oil on top of that. Did we use balance in the self-sabotage? I can't remember. But say you want bergamot or tangerine or elevation, you can always add that on at wholesale price. All of these also include all my bonuses. So to join my essential oils team, which is the Oil Sanctuary, is an online library of other rituals, remedies, and protocols. There's 5 guided tapping experiences that incorporate the essential oils. There's goddess energies paired with oils. There's affirmations paired with oils. There's crystals paired with oils. There's a Lyme protocol. There's an everyday well-being protocol. These are all in that library, and that's just one of the bonuses you get for signing up for the team. The others include Oil Camp 1 and Oil Camp Level 2, which are both 2-week online courses hosted throughout the year. Free access to those, and a 30-minute phone call with me, so I can also channel and intuit any sort of oils that I think are going to be most energetically aligned with whatever your major challenges are on an emotional or a physical level. So that isn't just an opportunity for you guys. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned a ton on this call. Please let me know. Let me know if you learned a lot and if this was helpful to you, and if you'd like to have more classes like this in the future. That's also helpful to me as a practitioner and someone who shows up to hopefully inspire and educate. If you want to contact me, you can follow me on social media at Autoimmune Tribe. I hang out on Instagram a lot. I also am opening up any sort of email you want to send me. Please send it. Ask me questions. Sarah with an H at autoimmunetribe.com. So any questions you have following this experience, or anything you experience after using the oils, I'd also love to hear that. Thank you guys so much again. It's been an honor hanging out with you this Tuesday evening, and I will see you soon. Sending you lots and lots of love.